Anunnaki City. In Africa, in southern Africa, in a remote and sparsely populated region, archaeologists have made a strange discovery. They found the ruins of an ancient city that, according to preliminary assessments, may have existed for more than 200,000 years. This number is staggering compared to what we have previously known about human history. These ruins include numerous ancient stone walls, some circular, others of irregular shapes, stretching across a vast area that hardly anyone ever thought to survey seriously. For centuries, local people saw these walls in the wild fields but assumed they were remnants of old farms or something unimportant. They had no idea that this region once hosted numerous gold mines, and that most of the gold had been extracted over the last 5 centuries. The richness of gold in this land has given rise to many different theories. Some suggest that this ancient urban area was once home to the Anunnaki, the cosmic gods worshipped by the ancient Sumerians. Mesopotamian legends say that the Anunnaki were beings who came from the sky, granted life to humanity, and then mysteriously disappeared. Some modern researchers believe the Anunnaki did not come to Earth simply to observe, but also to mine gold. According to this theory, they used advanced genetic technology to create humans as a labor force to help with resource extraction. While these stories are captivating, mainstream archaeologists still consider them to be legends, hypotheses based on mythology, with no scientific evidence to confirm them. The ruins that have been found are actually just fragments of stone walls and relics, severely eroded by time and the forces of nature. Most of these structures are recognized mainly through satellite images taken from above, while ground surveys are made difficult by the remoteness of the area and the heavy damage sustained over tens of thousands of years. If, for the sake of argument, the Anunnaki theories were true, the discovery of this ancient city would force us to completely rewrite the history of the world's first urban centers. This would mean that humans, or perhaps some other species, may have built complex cities more than 190,000 years ago, long before civilizations such as Uruk or ancient Egypt ever existed. If that is the case, we would face a whole new set of questions about the origin of humanity and the true role of the gods in Sumerian mythology. However, up to now, the global archaeological community has not accepted the hypothesis of an Anunnaki city in Africa. There is no evidence that extraterrestrial technology ever appeared here, nor any physical proof confirming the presence of beings from outer space as described in legends. All we know at this point are the remains of ancient, damaged stone walls and the traces of a community that once lived in this place. Even so, the existence of these ancient ruins in a desolate land continues to spark curiosity among archaeologists and the public. All we know at this point are the remains of ancient, damaged stone walls and the traces of a community that once lived in this place. Even so, the existence of these ancient ruins in a desolate land continues to spark curiosity among archaeologists and the public alike. Many continue to search for answers, hoping that one day the mysteries of this city, over 200,000 years old, will be unraveled. Perhaps it is merely a forgotten prehistoric civilization, or perhaps it is the final clue remaining of an Anunnaki legend that humanity has passed down through the ages. Buddhism on Mount Nokajiri. When you set foot on Mount Nokajiri, beyond the towering stone walls marked with strange cuts, you are greeted by a unique cultural landscape. Most striking is the giant Buddhist statue known as Nyanji Daibutsu. This monumental statue is carved directly into the mountain's rock face and stands 31 meters tall, making it one of the largest Buddha statues in all of Japan, but it is not only the great Buddha that captures the imagination. Scattered along the mountainside are more than 1,500 smaller statues, known as rakan. Each of these small sculptures is exquisitely carved, depicting the Buddha's disciples in various states of meditation. As you walk along the winding paths that circle the mountain, you'll spot these figures nestled among lush greenery, hidden beneath the forest canopy or resting quietly against steep rock faces. These works were shaped not only by skilled hands, but also by the deep devotion and faith in Buddhism of those who created them. However, many researchers note that these Buddhist structures were largely constructed during the Edo period, from the early 17th to the 19th centuries. This era saw a flourishing of religious art across Japan, with numerous temples and large Buddha statues erected in various regions. Upon closer inspection, you may notice that many of the statues and major sculptures are based on massive rock structures, often carved directly into pre-existing cliff faces. This has led some to theorize that the Japanese of the Edo period were not the first to exploit or create these sacred sites. Instead, they may have inherited part of their legacy from older, possibly forgotten civilizations. It's possible that they made use of ancient stone walls, cliffs, and pre-shaped rock hollows to create their Buddhist masterpieces. As a result, the famous Buddhist works seen today at Nokajiri bear not only the artistic imprint of the Edo period, but also carry within them the mysteries of ancient civilizations that we have yet to fully uncover. The floating stone, Ishi-no-Hoden. In the city of Takasago, Hyogo Prefecture, Japan, there exists a truly unique megalith known as Ishi-no-Hoden, or, as many call it, the floating stone. When you see Ishi-no-Hoden with your own eyes, you are immediately struck by its enormous size and mysterious presence. The stone block weighs an estimated 500 tons, and it is carved almost perfectly into a cube, with sharp corners and flat, clean surfaces, as if it had just been polished by machine. But what truly sets it apart is the way it appears to float above a small pond. Positioned right in the center of the water, the stone creates the illusion that it is hovering just above the surface. Beneath the stone, an underground spring flows year-round, regardless of rainfall or drought. The water in the pond is always clear and cool, enveloping the stone in an atmosphere that is both tranquil and profoundly mysterious. For generations, local people have believed that the water here has healing properties and brings good fortune to those who come to pray. The existence of Ishi-no-Hoden has given rise to many theories about its true origin and purpose. Some suggest it is an ancient energy device, powered by the underground water flow. Others believe it was once a sacred space, used for mysterious rituals related to water and rebirth. There are even theories that the stone is part of a massive machine, designed by an ancient civilization to harness the power of the underground spring. When studying Ishi-no-Hoden, archaeologists often point to its similarities with the Osirian in Egypt, an ancient megalithic complex at Abydos, famous for also having water running beneath its foundations. Just like Takasago, the Osirian was built with massive stone blocks and is closely linked to the mysteries of water, raising profound questions about the technical and spiritual knowledge that people in ancient times may have possessed. As you approach Ishi-no-Hoden, you will feel the solemn and sacred atmosphere that still surrounds the site. Local residents regard it as one of the most mysterious relics in Japan, a place where the distant past and the present seem to converge. The questions about its origin, its purpose, and the true meaning of this floating stone remain unanswered, becoming yet another piece of the vast and complex puzzle that is Japan's ancient history. The Black Knight Satellite. The Black Knight Satellite is one of the strangest stories of the 20th century, a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. Often referred to simply as the Black Knight, this legend speaks of a mysterious object orbiting the Earth, whose origins remain unknown. Many believe it is not a human creation, but rather a device sent by an extraterrestrial civilization. The story begins in 1899, when the famous inventor Nikola Tesla was conducting radio wave experiments in Colorado Springs. During his research, he unexpectedly picked up radio signals that he described as highly unusual. Tesla believed these signals could be coming from a source beyond Earth. At the time, no artificial satellites existed. Humanity had not yet even dreamed of venturing into space. Tesla was not alone in encountering such mysteries. In 1928, a Norwegian engineer named Jorgen Hulse also recorded a series of repeating radio signals with an unknown origin. He noticed that these signals exhibited a strange delay, something that could not be explained by ordinary physical phenomena. These mysterious transmissions once again fueled speculation that an artificial object, possibly orbiting the Earth, could be transmitting radio waves from beyond. The legend of the Black Knight grew even more in 1954, when renowned UFO researcher Donald Keyhoe told the press that the United States Air Force had detected 2 unidentified objects orbiting the Earth. This was especially startling because no country at the time had the technology to place artificial satellites into orbit. These reports captured the attention of both the public and the scientific community, even though there was still no physical evidence to support the claims. Then, in 1998, the Black Knight story took a dramatic turn during NASA's STS-88 mission aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour. During this operation, astronauts captured a photograph showing a large, metallic, black object floating in space. The photo quickly spread across the internet, becoming the subject of intense debate. Many believed it showed the legendary Black Knight satellite that had been spoken of for decades. However, NASA scientists and veteran journalist James Oberg offered a much more mundane explanation. They argued that the object was nothing more than a thermal blanket that had slipped from an astronaut's grip during an EVA, extravehicular activity. According to them, there was nothing mysterious or extraterrestrial about the image, just a simple accident. Scientists have continued to insist that the strange radio signals recorded in the late 19th and early 20th centuries were likely the result of natural phenomena or equipment interference, unrelated to any alien object. And yet, despite these explanations, the legend of the Black Knight satellite lives on. For more than a century, the Black Knight has been featured in discussions about UFOs, conspiracy theories, and the unresolved mysteries of space. The Jebelline Man of Egypt. In 1896, archaeologists made a remarkable discovery in the area of Jebelline, located in southern Egypt. They unearthed a unique mummy, the remains of a man who lived around 3500 BCE, more than 5,000 years ago. Researchers named him the Jebelline Man. What made this discovery extraordinary was that his body was preserved in an almost perfect state, not through the traditional embalming rituals used for pharaohs, but thanks to the harsh natural conditions of the Egyptian desert. After its discovery, the Jebelline Man was transported to the British Museum in London, where he lay in silence for more than a century. For a long time, hardly anyone paid attention to the true story behind this ancient figure. But with advances in modern technology, scientists decided to take a closer look, particularly into the cause of his death. Using advanced CT scanning techniques, experts were able to examine the inside of the mummy without damaging it. What they found was shocking. The Jebelline Man had a deep wound on his shoulder and back, piercing into his body from behind. The blow had shattered his shoulder blade and left bone fragments embedded inside the wound. Based on the location and severity of the injury, specialists believe he was suddenly stabbed from behind with a sharp weapon, a blow so violent it suggests this was not a natural death. Anthropologists estimate that Jebelline Man died between the ages of 18 and 21. The severity of the wound led researchers to conclude that he was likely the victim of a murder in ancient times. After his death, his body was wrapped in a simple linen cloth and placed in a shallow grave, then covered with the hot desert sand. It was the dry and arid climate that preserved his remains so well, allowing us today to uncover the truth behind a murder that took place over 5,000 years ago. The mummy of the Jebelline Man is not only a marvel of archaeological preservation, but also a powerful reminder of the violence, mysteries, and human tragedies that shaped ancient life in Egypt. The ancient Gujian sword of China. In 1965, an archaeological team in China uncovered an ancient sword more than 2,000 years old inside a tomb located in Hubei province. This extraordinary weapon was quickly identified as the sword of King Gojin of Yu, a legendary ruler celebrated in the annals of ancient Chinese history. What astonished scientists most was not just its craftsmanship but its condition. Despite having been buried underground for over 2 millennia, the blade showed no signs of rust or corrosion. Remarkably, it was still so sharp that during the excavation, an archaeologist accidentally cut his finger on its edge, drawing blood, a testament to its enduring sharpness. The excavation site, an ancient cemetery of the Chu Kingdom, revealed about 50 tombs and more than 2,000 artifacts. Yet, among all these relics, the Gojin sword stood out above the rest. It had been placed inside a wooden box next to a skeleton, tightly sealed and carefully protected from moisture and environmental elements. Forged from bronze and tin, the sword features a straight blade and intricate engraved patterns. On the hilt are 8 ancient Chinese characters, identifying it as the sword of King Gojin of Yu. Experts believe this was indeed the weapon once wielded by the king at the end of the spring and autumn period, around the 5th century BC. The greatest mystery remains: how did the sword stay in such pristine condition after centuries buried in the damp, sulfur-rich soil of Hubei? Chemical analysis has revealed that the blade is coated with an extremely thin layer that prevents oxidation and protects the metal from rust. Even so, despite many attempts by researchers to replicate this ancient technique, no one has succeeded in matching its effectiveness. Today, the sword is regarded as a national treasure of China, often compared to the legendary Excalibur of the West. It is now preserved in the Hubei Provincial Museum, where it continues to fascinate scientists, historians, and visitors from around the world. The 10 Plagues of Egypt. For thousands of years, the story of the 10 plagues that struck ancient Egypt has remained one of the most dramatic and enduring legends of the Bible. According to tradition, during the time when the Jewish people were enslaved in Egypt, God punished Pharaoh for refusing to release them by sending 10 terrifying disasters upon the land. These plagues included the Nile turning to blood, frogs overrunning the land, swarms of flies and locusts destroying crops, the death of livestock, people afflicted by painful boils, darkness covering Egypt, and finally, the death of the firstborn in every Egyptian household. For centuries, no one could explain how such devastating events could occur in rapid succession. But in recent decades, scientists have proposed a plausible natural explanation linked to one of history's most violent volcanic eruptions, the eruption of the Santorini volcano around 1600 BC. When Santorini erupted, it released enormous amounts of ash and toxic gases into the atmosphere, which were carried by the wind all the way to Egypt. Researchers believe the volcanic ash could have contaminated the Nile River, turning its waters a deep red, explaining the first plague described in the Bible. The dying river life may have forced frogs to leave the water en masse, leading to the second plague. The stagnant, polluted waters then created ideal conditions for flies and locusts to breed, matching the next plagues. Livestock may have died from drinking toxic water or eating contaminated grass. Acidic rain and polluted air could have caused painful skin diseases among people. The thick ash clouds might also have blocked out sunlight, plunging the land into darkness, echoing the plague of darkness. As for the death of the firstborn, some scholars suggest the eldest children may have eaten first from contaminated grain stores and thus were more likely to die from poisoning. While it remains impossible to prove these events happened exactly as written, the Santorini eruption theory provides a more natural perspective on these ancient stories. To this day, the 10 plagues continue to fascinate believers, historians, and scientists alike, reminding us of how the forces of nature can shape human history and become woven into our greatest legends. The Sacred Spring of Phidian. In the northwest of France, amid the peaceful scenery of the European countryside, there lies a mysterious spring known as Phidian, also referred to as Fed Dion or Fed-Ion. This is one of the most famous underground springs in France, and for hundreds of years, it has attracted the curiosity of explorers, scientists, and local villagers alike. What makes Phidian truly remarkable is not just its abundant, crystal-clear flow of water all year round, but the fact that, even today, no one has ever determined its true source. According to ancient records, Fed-Ion was once used by the Romans as a vital water supply and a site for religious activities. Later, the Celtic tribes who lived in the region came to regard the spring as a sacred place, often holding rituals for luck, peace, and spiritual protection along its banks. By the 18th century, the French constructed a public bath at the site, and for generations, people have continued to draw from this mysterious water. Yet no one, not ancient civilizations, nor modern science, knows where this water truly comes from. The current in Phidian is always strong, and seems to never run dry. Scientific measurements reveal the spring produces an average flow of around 311 liters per second, regardless of freezing winters or scorching summer months. Despite extensive efforts, all attempts to locate the spring's underground origin have failed. Modern researchers have employed a wide range of tools, measuring techniques, chemical analyses, geological surveys, yet none have succeeded in discovering where the water truly begins. Beyond its scientific intrigue, Phidian is also steeped in local legend. One of the most well-known stories claims that the spring is actually a gateway between two worlds. A place where the boundary between the living and the dead becomes thin. Locals believe a giant serpent lives beneath the waters, guarding the entrance to the afterlife, and keeping the curious from venturing too far. These strange tales only grew with time, especially after a series of tragic diving expeditions in the 20th century. In 1974, two experienced divers lost their lives while exploring the spring's pitch-black, water-filled tunnels. In 1996, another diver died under similar circumstances. Following these tragedies, local authorities banned diving in Fidian for many years. It wasn't until 2019 that a veteran diver named Pierre-Eric Din was granted permission to resume the quest. He dove more than 230 feet deep, further than anyone before, and reached a zone of total darkness. Yet even he could not pinpoint the final origin of the spring. Pierre-Eric suggested that the waters may connect to vast, unexplored caverns, deep beneath the earth. Caverns that no one has ever seen. To this day, Fidian remains one of the most enigmatic underground springs in all of Europe.